Chinese government has cracked down on the Tibetans, appealing to halt the construction of a dam in eastern Tibet. Tibetans all around the world are alarmed by the Chinese government's local authorities' act of arresting and beating the local Tibetans who are making a peaceful plea. Last month, on February 14th, around 300 Tibetans in Dege County in Tibet assembled outside the Dege County Town Hall in Kharze, Tibet, demanding the local authorities to halt construction of a dam. According to Radio Free Asia, the massive 1,100 megawatt Kamtok Dam construction on the Dichu River is expected to force more than 2,000 Tibetans from their ancestral homes situated near the river in the upper district of Wamputu Township to relocate or resettle. According to the Tibetan Parliament in exile, construction of the dam will lead to relocation of 9 monasteries and 25 towns, resulting in demolition of significant cultural landmarks that house mural paintings and statues dating back to 14th to 15th century. According to the reports, on February 20 to 21, teams of county officials and police arrived at 2 monasteries in Wangputu Township in preparation for their demolition as part of the construction of the Kamtok Dam. Monks and villagers peacefully appealed to the authorities for dialogue and were seen pleading the officials to halt the construction. The following day, the police beat and detained more than 1,000 Tibetans, including monks who were part of the protests, and imposed a complete information lockdown and surveillance over the monasteries. However, few dozens of those arrested have been released later, and the officials have heightened fears that people accused of sending the videos abroad will face severe punishment. The Dichu River, which is called the Jinsha River in Chinese, runs through more than 10 provinces in Tibetan inhabited areas and China. It is located on the upper reaches of the Yangtze River, one of the most important waterways in China and the 3rd longest river in the world. The dam is the 6th in the proposed series of 13 on the Dichu River with an installed capacity of 8.6 gigawatts. All of this electricity is sent from Tibetan areas through the ultra-high voltage west to east transmission infrastructure due to be completed by 2025. Since the outbreak of these news, Tibetans in exile have been holding mass demonstrations in various parts of the world, including in Dharamshala, India. Tibetans are demonstrating in front of the Chinese embassies in New York and Switzerland, with more such protests and solidarity campaigns taking place in Canada and other countries. On February 24, more than 170 representatives of Tibet support groups from over 40 countries who were attending the 9th International Conference of Tibet Support Groups released a press statement calling on the Chinese government to stop the crackdown on Tibetans in Derike and release the 1,000 Tibetans that were detained following the protests. Sigyong Bemba of the Central Tibetan Administration condemned the Chinese government's crackdown on the non-violent protesters in Derike and said the Chinese authorities' disregard for the rights of Tibetans is unacceptable by any measures.
Overall, China looks at development as solution to every kind of problem, which is a very unidimensional way of looking at problems and resolving problems. They don't even think about the aspiration of the local population.
In Australia, around 300 individuals from Sydney Tibetan Association gathered to voice their condemnation of the CCP's oppression of Tibetans with an organized protest outside the Chinese embassy. On March 7, the Kashak made a 5-point appeal to the international community, foreign ministries, UN bodies and relevant offices for immediate attention and action to call upon the PRC government on its crackdown in Dege, Tibet. During the 65th anniversary of the Tibetan National Uprising Day, the Kashak and the Tibetan Parliament in exile expressed concerns over the devastating consequences due to the dam construction in Dege and demanded the Chinese government to respect the aspirations of the Tibetan people. United States Special Coordinator for Tibetan Issue Under Secretary Azra Zia called on the PRC to respect human rights and freedom of expression and to include Tibetans in the development and implementation of water and land management policies in a tweet on February 25th. Similarly, President Eustache Bruno, on behalf of the Tibet Support Group in the French Senate, issued a press statement expressing alarm over the crackdown. Last week, Dutch Ambassador for Human Rights Wim Geerts expressed serious concern over the reports of mass arrest of Tibetans. In his tweets, Ambassador Geerts calls on China for the release of those arrested for exercising their fundamental rights of freedom of expression and underlines his country's commitment to upholding that right. In commemoration of the International Day of Action for Rivers, the Tibet Policy Institute of Central Tibetan Administration discussed China's dam in Derike, assessing the social, cultural and ecological impact on Tibetans and beyond. The Human Rights Watch groups and civil society continues to track and monitor more information from Tibet, given China's tight surveillance and restrictions imposed on information flow.